What's going on, good people? Adrian Homeboy Holmes here to welcome you to the new season of Super Gamer Book Club. New season? Where's the old season, I hear you say? Well, you can find all the episodes of the old season from our original book club host Zetch on our Patreon. And you can also find the newest episodes of season 2 with host me, ding, on Patreon as well. Me, Garrett, and a special guest every month choose a game and we go over it and talk about it in a shorter, more informal kind of setting. It's almost like we're just hanging out and telling what we liked about the game, what we didn't like about the game, so on and so forth. So we decided this is too cool to sit behind Patreon for all of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some of the older episodes and put them out on this free podcast feed for you guys. And if you want to check out the new episodes of stuff that we're doing, you can go and subscribe to our Patreon for only $1 and you get the brand new book club episodes when they come out. That's all I got for right now. I hope you enjoy the episode and I hope you come to see what we have on Patreon. Take it easy and enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Super Gamer Book Club. This is episode 19. As always, I have Mr. Garrett Morlang at my side. How are you doing this evening, good sir?
Doing good. How are you, Adrian?
I'm doing all right. I been in a good mood ever since I finished the game that we're covering today. It's touched me in a good way. And of course, our super special guest, Mr. Trouzer Schnauzer himself. My good man, how you doing? Good to see you again. It's been a minute.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, man. It's good to be back.
I'm excited, man. I usually, I'm sure you can tell, but like when it's musically inclined projects, you're the first person that I look to because I love to hear your opinion, man. So if you didn't know, the game that we're covering for this month's Super Gamer Book Club is the recently released, shadow dropped Tango Gameworks Hi-Fi Rush. It was announced at the Xbox Developer Direct that happened earlier this year, and pretty much sequentially dropped that same day and took the world by storm at that point. So this is a rhythm action game where everything in the world of the game it is moving to a beat, and your character also is kind of like compelled by it in a sense. All your actions are multiplied whenever they're on beat. So as far as movement or combat or anything like that, as long as you keep the beat, you'll keep your combo going, kind of like a Devil May Cry influence or a Bayonetta influence, and your attacks will be stronger. So this game was did they say how long they were working on it in the preview? Then wasn't it like, it was a few years, I think they were kind of working on it as a side thing or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but I feel like they did mention like, yeah, we've been working on it for a while, and it's been, because they mentioned how hard it was to keep it a secret. Like they were sure that it was going to get leaked. Like even the day of, because that's usually how it goes, is like nowadays, like every time there's like a direct or a PlayStation State of Play or whatever it is, Xbox thing, like the morning of, all of a sudden it's like, hey, by the way, this game's going to get announced this afternoon, because someone just can't hold their tongue. And so like the fact that this made it to like the afternoon when they announced it is crazy. Like it actually, like all through development, and then when it got announced, they even said in the video, they're like, unless it's been leaked, because obviously when they record it, they have no idea. Like they're like, this is recorded probably 2 months in advance or whatever. But yeah, absolutely crazy that they kept it hush hush for so long and got it out.
Yeah. I had no idea that this game was anywhere near like being made or anything. So when the preview hit and you see the art style and the design and you hear the music and see the gameplay, and I'm like, oh man, this is right up my alley. Let me see what's going on. And then you find out it's dropping today and on Game Pass. It was a no-brainer.
Crazy.
Was
Now,
very
now,
good.
now, Trouz, did you catch the announcement, or was your first hearing of it when we asked you to to join us on the
I
show?
believe I had seen something on it. I was like, oh, that looks neat, but I didn't really think too much about it. I was like, that looks really cool. Like the art style was just kind of caught by my eye got caught by that.
Yeah.
But I didn't really look too much into it. And then you guys brought it up to me. I was like, oh, this actually does look pretty fun.
So I don't even know where to start with this one, man. There's just like I am legit giddy over this game. Garrett, I guess I can start with you. Overall,
Yeah.
what are you thinking? Where you at?
Yeah. So overall, I really enjoyed this game. I liked it a lot. Like, it has a really fantastic story. Even though it's so simple, it still like surprised me. Like, it's something that's like, oh, of course this is kind of how it would go, but I was still surprised by the twist. I was like, wait, what? And then the soundtrack is incredible, which you would hope so. It's a music rhythm game, so it better have some dang good music. In the gameplay, I think the gameplay to me is the only thing that suffered, like, was not amazing in my opinion. And it was like good to a point, and we'll get more into it later on when we talk about more specifics. But but as far as like story and soundtrack and even like the characters, like such a fun cast. I every time they introduce a new character, I'm like, all right, I'm all about this. I'm in. Like, this is so fantastic. 808 is like the best.
Yes.
Like, I hate cats, but 808, I'd be down. I'd have an 808. Like, just,
You're all right, 808.
yeah. I just love the sound. Like, it makes the sound of an 808 drum. Like, it's an 808. I'm like, oh man, like I love that. Like, it's just so much personality in this little like robot cat. So great. As well as the rest of the cast too. So yeah, overall, I give it high marks. Other than the gameplay, I had a few gripes here and there that we'll talk about later.
Trouz, how about yourself? Overall impressions? How'd you feel walking out of this one?
Well, I was expecting, the main two genres of gameplay, which were like beat 'em up / rhythm game. I was expecting that, but I wasn't expecting them to do platforming / collectathon at the same time. And I was like, that really scratches the itch for me. So I was like, I like collecting stuff. I like platforming. And I just added all of this stuff together, and I think they did it pretty well. Like, I wasn't too disappointed by any aspects, really, other than maybe some input delay on it being on the cloud. So I would have some problems timing certain things,
Oh, you streamed it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow. Okay.
It was on the cloud.
Did you play on the cloud like from your phone, or actually from on your PC?
On Xbox.
On your Xbox. Okay.
Yeah, it was fine. It just had like a half-second delay, so a couple points. Like, it takes me about an hour to get into the groove of playing it because I have to compensate. But I felt that was just it being on the cloud's part, not the game's fault, So that's pretty much all I had problems with,
I so many times wanted to play it on the cloud because I'm like, I don't have an Xbox. I just have my PC with Game Pass on it. And I was like, I don't want to go down to my office and play games. Like, I just want to lay in bed and play on my phone or on my iPad or whatever, because I do that so many with other games, and it works great. Fantastic. But with this game being like, it's all about getting it on the rhythm, on beat. It's like, I was afraid of that delay because I had bad internet in our bedroom, but so I was curious like how that experience even would be, because I didn't even try it. But that's interesting that there was enough delay to at least make it a little more challenging there.
Yeah, parries were pretty difficult for that reason. I'd say, like, I was having so much trouble with learning how to parry. I was like, what is this? How do I do?
They were already hard normally, and now you add an extra delay you had to compensate for. You tougher than me, man. I don't know if I would have done it.
I would have bit the bullet and installed it on the console. It's like, I'm deleting something. I'm making room. I'm getting this out here. That sounds horrible.
I made it through though. But yeah, other than that, it was pretty good all around. I think I enjoyed myself.
I am a lot higher on this game, I think, than most people. No, I'm not gonna say most people. Most people in our circle or in our Discord. I absolutely adored this game, start to finish. It's not a perfect game. No game is. There are definitely things that, I caught wind of and things that could have been improved. That's just, part of the product. There's always going to be certain things that could have been tightened up. But as a whole, this was such a this hit me square exactly where it needed to hit, and I don't know, it felt innovative and nostalgic at the same time. I was reading comments about it online on Twitter, and somebody said that Hi-Fi Rush feels like a GameCube game, and they meant that in the absolute best way. And I 1000% agree. Like, this feels like it stepped right out of that GameCube PS2 era with the way that it looks and the sensibilities, even some of the dialogue and the situations, but it still all works really well for me anyway. The music was on fire. The level design, the character design was incredible. Every level felt different, varied as far as like the aesthetic. I don't know. And the combo system, it was almost too much. Like, there was 50, felt like 50 something special moves and combo moves. I barely used half of them. Right.
I think like I bought some attacks in like the first couple levels, and I never bought more for the rest of the game. There's like 12 chapters, and like because you don't need them. Like, you're just like, it was completely just for style points, and I'm like, all right, I just need to beat these guys up. Like, I'm not
straight up Tekken combos levels.
And and speaking of, it's only 12 tracks, so it's not very long. It doesn't overstay its welcome, in my opinion. It gets in, gives you a pretty meaty experience for what you have, and then sends you on your way. I tweeted that it kind of got me a little emotional when I finished it. It wasn't necessarily due to the ending. It was kind of a combination of things. It was me sitting back and looking at what happens when you let developers and publishers make what they want, and it was just the feeling of knowing how much passion and how much love and went into this project, and you can just kind of feel it oozing out of it, and you don't really get that with a lot of big developers these days because they're always trying to make what's profitable. So on the rare occasion that you do finally get to see them make what they want to make, it shines so much brighter than anything else that they work on. And I love seeing people who got into this business or got into this profession being able to express themselves the way they want. And Hi-Fi Rush for me is a very good recent example of that.
There's definitely a lot of heart in this game. Like, it's not and not that they like, I'm sure there was heart that went into Evil Within 1 and 2 as well.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
but it's a very, like, you could tell, like, this was
safe.
Like, oh, this was a passion project. The fact that there wasn't any hype or lead up to it, like, they weren't trying to create an IP or a brand that you're like well, I mean, they wanted you to get attached to it, but yeah, you're like you were saying, the intention wasn't to just go out and like make the best thing to make the most money. It was just to make a really good product.
Right.
And like, and you could tell the fact that there wasn't a bunch of marketing ahead of time, and then they were so hush hush about it, and you feel it every step of the way playing through the game, like 100%.
So as I said earlier, we don't usually we don't usually have to do the bullet points on this one. It came out this year, within the last month or so from the developer direct.
It's like barely a month old, right?
Right. At this point, it's developed by Tango Gameworks of Evil Within 1 and 2, and then they do
Ghostwire Tokyo.
Ghostwire Tokyo of those fame. So not necessarily a
horror games.
Yeah. This is definitely a 180 from what they have made in the past, but I love that, right? Like, what if Treyarch, the people who made Call of Duty, what if they wanted to make a puzzle game? You never know, right? But this is a perfect example of that, right? Because Hi-Fi Rush is so far removed from what they normally do. So I would love to see, hey, if Treyarch was like, hey, we got a really good idea that we want to make for a puzzle game. and Activision says, you know what? You gave us a Call of Duty, one for us, one for you. Do it. I want to see what that's like.
I would love that if it was like a puzzle game, like you're saying, in the gameplay style of The Witness, but you're solving puzzles from Call of Duty Black Ops, because like the whole thing was like Black Ops, like the Russian spies and like being what is it? They're like the secret agents being triggered by like certain codes and stuff. That's what it's still in the Call of Duty universe, but it's like The Witness style puzzles trying to solve like these.
That would be the concession they would have to make, right?
Yeah, like it's
They're
still
like,
Call of
you'll
Duty,
make,
All
right. You'll make what you want,
but
but it's still Call of Duty.
all right, fine. It's a puzzle game where you're, a sleeper agent trying to like crack those codes or something.
Going a little deeper into the art style, I think that this was the perfect choice for this kind of game. Cell shading. It was definitely. I can see how it would teeter on the line of sensory overload. There are a lot of characters. There's a lot of movement, a lot of colors going on at the same time. Trouz, did that do anything for you? Were you a fan of it, or it was just like, it was cool? Or
No, I thought it fit pretty well with the vibe, honestly. I like the cell shaded look and the colorfulness. So I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah. What about the performances? I think everybody did a really good job.
With the what?
With the performances?
The performances in terms of music?
Well, I mean, not. We'll get to the soundtrack because that's going to be a pretty meaty part. But like just the characters, I think they did a good job too.
Yeah, they captured that like early to mid 2000s attitude. I feel very well, especially Chai. Chai, the main character, totally fit that vibe.
I was saying when we were talking in our Discord that this game really gives off a good Saturday morning cartoon energy. So that's the way that I played it. I would play it a chapter or a track at a time, and I would treat it as if it was an episode of the show. And then once I finished, okay, I'll come back to it later. Garrett, how you feeling about the art? Did it work for you? Could you have taken it or leaving it?
Oh, I thought the art style was incredible. I love the look of it. I almost feel like it couldn't be any other way. Like just with the story and the characters that they made, like it just would feel like if they tried to make it more 3D, I feel like it'd be too like I don't know, like it could very quickly turn to like just
corny.
Be corny. I guess that's exactly what I was thinking.
A little campy.
Yeah, a little campy. Or if they did like a 2D side scroller type thing, like all the time, I guess I should say, because they did have those moments where it went 2D, which is awesome. Yeah, it'd feel like, okay, like they're not quite getting enough out of this as much as out of it as they could. Like it almost like they kind of just phoned it in a little bit. So really, I feel like that's the perfect art style as far as the performances by the voice actors and stuff. Like so fantastic. I don't have any complaints in this area, that's for sure. Between the colors, I think my favorite thing was as well those certain moments in the combat is generally against boss battles where all of a sudden they do like their super special move, or when they first reveal like whatever their suit is, and it like freeze frames. And it's like super like colorful, like anime style. Like there's even like some even had like the Japanese writing like across like
a title
screen,
card kind of
like a title, exactly. And it's like
comic book.
Yeah, it's so good. I love that. Or what is there was a couple there was the one enemy who was like the samurai type enemy, and like you'd fight him until he got to a certain point, and all of a sudden like it would freeze frame and like the silhouette would come in
and he'd do a poem
and he'd do it's like I wish I could read
his haikus.
I wish I could read his haikus or whatever the poem was, because I was like, it was so great. Like all of a sudden just like the spotlight's on him, and these Japanese writing come up on the screen, he's saying saying something, and then all of a sudden
pretty much
and then all of a sudden like boom, okay, now it's time to finish him. I'm like, oh man, it's so good. So that influence leading into like the Japanese, which I mean, it's a mostly Japanese studio, right? I think it's based in Tokyo, Japan.
Yep.
And so yeah, I love that it's a very like American story, with like those Japanese influences. Like it's like the
Yeah.
like American, like, yeah, I'm gonna be a rock star, and it's like the technology and all this stuff. Like it feels very just a commercialized American kind of thing. But yeah, those Japanese influence came through in just the perfect times.
I also want to give a huge shout out to the transitions in this game. Like when there's certain moments where it transitions from being the game engine 3D into the 2D animation, it's done so well. One of my favorites is when you're fighting that robot with the shielding on it, and Chai goes to try to talk to it, to try like to reason with it, and it just socks him square in the face. And right at the moment of impact, it shifts to 2D animation. And I just think that is so slick. It's so well done the way that they do that.
It's pretty
shout
seamless.
out to what's that?
It's pretty seamless.
Yeah. So shout out to the team who developed those and who animated those 2D sections, because man, sometimes it was hard to distinguish what was the animation and what was the game because they're so close to each other. So that really speaks to the attention to detail with this one. Garrett, you mentioned, I want to get into this part. You mentioned that you had a little bit of a gripe with the gameplay. What exactly was going on for you?
So I had some issues with feeling like I don't know. To me, some of the levels kind of dragged on too long. And then what I eventually realized it came down to is like, oh, like from the beginning of the level until you get to the boss fight at the end, it's essentially just the same. You get different sound. The soundtrack is amazing. Don't get me wrong. We're gonna talk about that. Like soundtracks, 10 out of 10. I love it. But when the soundtrack is so tightly, I can't talk right. Tongue twister here. So tightly tied to the gameplay. I realized later on, I'm like, oh, like the reason I had such a hard time, or like felt like such a slog at times getting through those levels, like, all right, like I get it. Like you run to the circle, you fight some things, you platform a little bit, you run to the circle, you fight some things. Though the music in the game is all the same, pretty much the same speed, the same BPM. So for me, it was just like, all right, like I could almost do it with my eyes closed. It's like bum 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 y y x y y x dot, like, you know, is her B whatever, you know, parry.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt like very samey. And so like I had mentioned before to you guys that like I wish there was just a little bit of variety. It doesn't have to be like for an entire level where it could like possibly get boring if it's too slow or get exhausting, but I just wish there was those variances throughout the level, not just at the boss fight at the end, because that's what you'd get. It'd be like, all right, bum 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 bum, same time, same beat, same thing throughout the whole thing, and then you get to the end, and then it would change with whatever the special boss music is. Every boss pretty much had their own special music that was usually a licensed song, not all the time, but in most cases it was a licensed song. So yeah, that was kind of like my biggest gripe, is like there was times in some of the levels where it just felt like a slog, and I realized it was kind of connected to the music, not that it was bad, but it's all just the same speed. And I really was like, oh, imagine if like at certain moments it did like slow down, like all of a sudden like the game went into slow motion or something, and you have to like go with it, or it's like a really cool action scene, it goes dot 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 and like speeds up for like they called them choruses. Every time you got in a battle, it's called a chorus.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, oh man, imagine every chorus there was you know, maybe a different theme to it, where it is like, oh, this chorus is going to speed up and this one is going to slow down. This one, yeah, just a little bit of variation. So I don't know. It's a minor gripe in reality. Like overall, it's still a fantastic game, but at times it felt like a slog. Cause I'm like, I just feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. Cause I was for most of the game, you are just doing the same thing over and over and over again. So
that's fair. I don't know if it affected me as much as it did you. I feel like there were a lot of instances, in my opinion, where it did change, like especially when you're doing traversal, in not necessarily in the platforming sections of it, but like when you're doing the ones where you're hanging off the line and you have to dodge out of the way of the containers. Right. I think that because they're trying to convey like, oh, it's action and speed, I think that was probably a different tempo to my ear it was anyway.
Right.
But for the majority of the time, it does stay pretty much a similar tempo. And I don't know if necessarily that was a decision made to aid in development ease, or if they were trying to think of the player, or what. But I do like your idea that for certain sections of levels, I think it would be interesting to change the tempo. I just don't know if that was a creative decision that they did, or if it was just they never thought of it. I don't know. It's possible.
I'm sure there's a little column A and column B where, like you were saying before, like it was probably accessibility for people. Like, hey, if we just kind of generally keep it the same, because not everyone is musical. Not everyone has rhythm. Like that can be hard to have this, like have a time change. I mean, it's hard for skilled musicians to all of a sudden like do a time change in the middle of a song. Like imagine like people who are just like, oh, wait a second, you know?
Yeah, I can't imagine that they didn't play with that idea.
Yeah, so they might have toyed with it, and yeah, it just didn't make sense for most people.
Mhm.
But I don't know. For me, I was just like, I wanted more. Like, oh, I want a little more variety, a little more spice to make it.
Maybe they could
it
add like
more
a challenge
interesting.
mode that'll do that. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah.
there is, when you beat the game, it unlocks a new mode called like rhythm mode, which
Yeah,
is
but
basically
that's basically on one life, right?
yeah,
If you
and
let
like
your-
when you die, like you just start from the beginning of the game or whatever. Like it's like
No thanks.
permadeath kind of thing. It's like,
No
oh
thanks.
my gosh, that sounds horrible.
Trouz, you mentioned that you were streaming this one, and
Yeah.
there was a little bit of a delay for you because of the stream. How'd you end up working that out?
Yeah, the cloud version was kind of a little bit delayed, but I managed after about maybe an hour of playing, and it would like I would like find where it was. Like, okay, at the like a little slightly before I see the little circle thing close in, before to the silhouette of it. I'd be like, okay, I'll press here, and then I'd figure it out over time. I'm like, okay, this is pretty much the rhythm I should be at when it's showing me differently. So I would sometimes try not to pay attention too much to the circle after I got the rhythm down. And yeah, eventually it was like, okay, I could do this. It was just weird in the beginning. I was like, I'm a musician. This shouldn't be this hard. Like, you know.
Do you think if you ever actually played it on hardware, you think your experience is like you got that muscle memory now to where you're always gonna do it early?
You're always gonna be early.
Yeah, maybe, honestly. That could be an issue if I ever do play it like that.
Real quick, I didn't really check out the cloud version, but I know at least on PC it had like a calibration, so you could calibrate it to any sort of delay. Because even like on
Oh,
hardware,
okay.
you can have delay if there's like depending on your monitor cables or your controller you're using or whatever. Do you know if the cloud version had anything like that? Did you mess with that or no?
I don't think it did, honestly. I don't remember it
Okay.
having something like that.
It might not, because I think the cloud version, when you stream games through Xbox Cloud Gaming, I think it's streaming the console version, and that I don't think that's something like most consoles probably wouldn't have that, because most consoles don't deal with delay with how they work. Usually
Yeah.
it's more of a PC thing, having issues with inputs and controllers and all that stuff. So that's what I was curious if you had looked at all in the settings and if it had that, because I know I looked at it on the PC version, but I wasn't sure about the console.
Yeah, from what I
version, so-
remember, it was mainly like the gamma, like seeing how dark or
Right.
bright. That's all I got from that. The options.
Okay. I was just curious because I don't know. I said before we started, you're tougher than me, because if I would have had to do that with that delay, especially with a
Throwing it
rhythm
right out.
game, yeah, I would have been like, nope, I got to figure something else out.
Yeah, I almost folded at the parry section when you were learning it because it was just so hard. Parries are a lot stricter on the timing, so I was like, God.
And they're already hard normally, so now you got to put the
Yeah.
stream delay in there. No thanks.
Yeah, I had to fail that parry tutorial maybe like 7 or 8 times before I got it.
Jeez.
I was like, dang.
Moving on to the soundtrack. This is where I'm ready to pick your brain, Trouz. How did you feel about it? Did you think it was a good selection of music, or did you have any opinions on it one way or the other?
I will say, like, the style of music I don't typically listen to very often. It's like kind of like a pop punk alternative vibe.
Mhm.
But it definitely fit the game enough to where I was like, I don't even care that I don't listen to this music often. I like it just because it's fitting with the vibe. So I'm big on like visuals mixing with music. So they think they did really well with that.
Yeah.
And also the like when you would get to like certain parts of the level, it would like just be bass and like a little bit of cymbal, doom 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 doom, and you're just like going slowly, and then it gets to like combos like boom down down down. It just started getting louder and more instruments come in. I was like, dude, this is so cool. I was like interactive, you know. So I was really digging that.
And then the music starts pumping, and you feel invincible, and
Yeah,
you see your combo going up. Man, they nailed that.
yeah, man.
They totally nailed that vibe because like that's Chai's whole character is he feels invincible. Like, he's not, but he thinks he's invincible. He thinks he's this big shot, and they did such a good job of translating that through like the gameplay and the music. Be like, I can do anything right now, guys. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
like you feel
idling,
that way.
Like even when you're idling, he's just like snapping away. Like
yeah.
He's going at it.
That's one thing that I loved about the music was it's not almost, it is a character. Like it's its own element, but and I don't think the game would have worked without that soundtrack, the one that they made. It's nice to have the guest acts in there with their own, how would you say, featured songs? But it's really the score by Tango themselves that kind of holds this game together. I think it was a good idea though to use, like Garrett was saying earlier, most of the features for the boss fights. I love that because it gives them all their own feel. And especially I really dug that each boss fight was very different from the last. I think that was the big hook that was helping me to go, was to see, I got to see what the next boss fight is, because I want to see how they're gonna do it. Like the first time, or not the first time, when I got to Corsica, her fight, and then you find out it's not actually a fight. It's more of like awesome. You guys are kind of circling each other and doing the parry. That was so cool.
Yep. That was one of my favorite parts too.
Yeah, it was probably one of my favorite boss fights because it was like, it wasn't a boss fight. Like I love that. Right. All the other ones, it's just kind of like hit them until their health bar goes down. There's different like, sub goals within each of those, but for the most part, it's just like hit them. This one, it's like, all right, don't hit them and don't get hit. Don't hit them and don't get hit. It's like, all right.
Also, don't miss a parry or a dodge.
Right. Yeah, right. Oh man, it must have been horrible for you, Trouz. Man.
They said, we heard you like parries. Well, don't worry, we got a whole boss of it for you.
We're gonna be circling around each other for at least an hour.
Speaking of the bosses as being characters in the game, I think just to go a little bit more in depth, I love the cast of this game, heroes and villains. Their designs I thought were great. Their performances were really good. I don't think I have a complaint about anybody's performance as far as this cast is designed. They all ham it up, right? And that makes sense for the kind of game that this is. Did you guys have a favorite character or a favorite villain or performance or anything like that? Anybody like speak to you?
I'd say my favorite, I really like Corsica because Scottish accents are fucking
a man
awesome.
of taste.
Yeah.
Dude, she's awesome. I simp for Corsica.
A man of taste.
And I love the boss fight for Rogue Fort. Rogue Fort was sick.
Yeah.
Like,
in
man,
the
that was
DuckTales
like, really cool. Dude, he would have kept going too. He's like, I'm not done yet. And then he gets screwed over. But yeah.
He was the only one that, like, when he kept getting up, I'm like, what? Am I not beating him right? Like, why does he keep getting back up? He got up like 3 times. He was the one that I, like, legitimately, I was worried that, are they going to actually lose on this one? But it turned out there was a plan all along. Just stall him out. Gary, did you have a favorite?
Boy, I think.
Or was it all of them? Or
I mean, my favorite villain was probably I don't know. That's hard.
Do you have a favorite hero character?
My favorite hero was probably Corsica or Macaron. Like he's awesome. He was like such a cool dude.
Macaron.
I love
Macaron rules.
I love how he was just like he's such a pacifist, hardcore. He's like, I don't want to hit anyone. I don't want to hurt anyone. Like I don't like this. And he's so anxious. Just like, are we gonna be able to do it? Are we gonna make it? And I love every time Chai went up, because you could talk with the characters in between, and Chai trying to give him a little pep talk. And it's just like, that's not an advantage, or that's not encouraging. What are you talking about? And Chai's like trying to spin it like, oh no, this is gonna go fine. So their interaction was so fun, seeing Chai and Macaron. And then obviously Corsica is just amazing.
Can't deny that.
No, I think my favorite boss really was we already mentioned Rockfort. The boss fight was cool because it was just like the real. Well, I don't know. The boss fight was fine. The reveal of the wolf, like that was just freaking cool because everyone had like a form, and it was just kind of like them but in a suit. This one, it's like him in a suit, but he's a giant freaking wolf. Like that's really cool. He's just, like, that was amazing. But even I don't know.
I want to shout out Zanzo.
It sounds generic, but Kale, like the big dog, like yeah, he's just the big baddie, but he also just had like I just like the vibe of the final boss fight. Like when you're fighting him, it's like up on top of the tower, pitch black, lightning storm, and it's just like raining, and he's just looking so epic, like this epic
he's in his
anime
final form, all his robot parts
like,
out with that sword charged up.
Yeah,
I thought of Yakuza when I saw that.
Yeah, it's like
up at the Millennium Tower.
This is so freaking cool. Like this is like way too cool. But yeah, Zanzo's a good one. You like Zanzo?
Yeah. I love them turning it on its head. Like you're looking at the robot getting put together, and you're like, man, how are we supposed to do this? And then at the very last second, defunded. Never mind. Don't worry about this one.
Yeah.
Do you ever actually fight him? Like you kind of just keep going through the level and like burning his funds, right? That's how it ends. He just runs out of money, basically.
Yeah. He beats himself pretty much.
Yeah.
Because of his lack of self-control. That's what
good.
I love it. I love it.
That's pretty good.
I don't know if I necessarily have a favorite character overall. I really like the entire team of heroes. I love their interactions with each other. One of my favorite is when it's near the beginning, when it's just Peppermint and Chai, and Chai's getting ready to leave. He's like, whatever, lady, I don't know what you're trying to do, but I'm out of here. And like the lights in the room cut off, and Peppermint's head like slowly turns towards Chai at the door.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, Chai? And he's like, oh, never mind, I'm gonna go sit down. Just
evil.
like moments like that are so good, man.
I think my favorite like character development through the game would be Peppermint's, because like at the beginning she is like just the cynical, I'm on my own, I'm gonna do this thing, and I mean the big twist later on in the game is like, oh, this is her mom's company, Kale's her brother, like what? Like again, it's such a simple thing, but it's like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that at all. I don't know why.
I unfortunately put that together. I'm like, they have the same hair color and the same skin tone. They probably have something going on here. I just didn't know exactly what it was going to be.
Yeah, I thought there were that was the dad, but it ended up being the brother.
But yeah, just for her being so cynical at the beginning, and then by the end, like I love in the credits when they're like in the truck and like they're doing silly things, and she's just laughing, like she's literally like bent over, holding her gut, like dying, laughing and giggling. I'm like, that's so awesome. She went from like having no friends and no family to like all of a sudden like having these awesome friends, having her mom back, like having a family now. Like it may not be, her mom and her brother, but it's her mom who's back to normal now, and all these friends. And it's just so cool to see that change and see her even like work through that grief of losing her family and losing her feeling the loss of this company, losing its purpose and stuff like that. And
her and Macaron,
and then like at the end, kind of like coming back to like, eventually like coming to grips with it, and almost like that. You're not coming to grips, but just realizing like, all right, we have a common goal here. We're working together. We can do this. It didn't feel so desperate at the beginning. It just felt like, oh, well, we just gotta figure this out. I don't know how this is working. At the end, it's like, all right, we just like, we got this. this has to work, and there's like
Yeah.
just a camaraderie there and I just love that. So yeah, Peppermint probably my favorite.
The biggest the biggest turn for her was when she was, when it was right before the final mission and she goes, Chai, I trust you. You know that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh man.
There it is.
Whoa, what's going on here? Is this the same Peppermint? Man.
Well, even when they reveal that, when she reveals that it's her brother, when she's like she's worried they're gonna like freak out or like not want to help her, and I love how Chai immediately is like, who cares? Doesn't matter. Let's keep going. Come on, we got this. Like I love that, and her face is just like, but really? Like you,
like she was getting ready to cry.
Yeah, like you still care about me. Like you still like want to help me through this. And he's like, yeah, sure. Come on. Who cares? Let's go. Like I love that. Like because she's like ready for them to just like, all right, peace out. Like we don't want any part of this. And the fact that like they loved her so much, and then again her reaction to it was so like on the verge of tears. And it's like, oh man, so good.
It's a lot of heartfelt moments that I don't think I saw coming. I don't think a lot of people saw coming. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I just dig it. Going back to the gameplay, I think the combo system works really well here. Even though we said that there are 50 million combos, the way that they're pulled off,
it's such a waste. That whole store is such a waste. I bought the only thing I bought was life in the power-up bars, and then like I didn't touch anything else because it's so unnecessary. That's my only other gripe. Like it's not a bad thing. Dude. So I'm not gonna say it made the game worse, but it was just pointless to me. I'm like, they give you all this money, and for what? Like you don't need those combos. They don't help do anything. In my opinion.
They do help.
I don't think I used a combo like for.
What did you just do? X, 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 Y the whole time? That's why it got boring.
Yeah, well, because there's just so many combos. Like that's the other. Like, how
but that's the point is for you to be able to change it up. So like there's even the ones where you press X and then you hit a rest beat and then you keep going back into it. Just different variations of it, and it gives it's more visually interesting because there's so many combos. Not to mention when you're able to have your teammates come in and jump off your back when you're doing the combos at the end. Did you ever do that?
No, I bought those, but I never actually ended up using them.
See, it sounds like you just did one combo through the whole game.
Well, so I did because they didn't give me a reason to need to use the combos. Like usually combos are designed for like, okay, you might need to use this against a certain boss or this will help you against a certain enemy or whatever. And like there was no need for it. It was just for visual flair. And at that point,
there's visual flair, but there's also some that push enemies back or launch them into the air or spread them out.
Yeah,
but you wouldn't have known.
I bought a few of them. I think like the one actually I did use one combo I know for sure a few times was I used one to throw them up in the air and I used one to when you're up in the air to slam back down. Like those are probably the only other two I used. But yeah, otherwise it's just like
or the one with your hook where when you get over to them you kind of do like a parkour somersault over them, and that lets you even hit the ones with shields behind you or behind them without even having to use macaron. Just stuff like that. It has a purpose. So it's just a lot of them.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. I think that's the other thing that turned me off is just like I look at the list of the it just keeps going. You hit the down button, it just keeps going. I'm like,
I was constantly
and then
in
there's
that combo
three
list.
tabs because there's one for each character too. I'm like, all right.
I was in the combo list like, how do I do that one again? How do I do this one? I think this one would really work. And then I found my set like maybe 6 or 7 combos that I rotated between, but I really, really dug that. And I love the partner integration as well. I think that works out, especially during big boss fights. I just keep spamming the partners. I just rotate and spam, and it works out.
Yep, I did that a lot too. Just go up close to the boss and be like, trigger.
Yeah.
Boom, all of them are out.
Awesome. Were you big into the combos too, Trouz, or am I the only one here?
I think I might have got a little more in depth with them. I was doing consistently like 10 to 12. Okay. And I was like doing the special ones where like you have to make some distance for yourself. You could charge up your guitar and make it build with more metal and just boom and swirl everybody out. That was one of my favorites, but it was just really hard to pull off the big one because you had to really charge it.
Mm-hmm. Or charging up your partner attacks too.
Oh yeah, the the what do you call it? Where you have to press the sticks in and do the super. Where you do
the super
mix with
attack or
Corsica.
whatever.
Yeah, you can mix with Corsica, peppermint, and do like a cool super strong attack.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
those are
set mine
fun.
to the one where you drink soda and it gives you some health back.
Oh, nice! I didn't know that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, there
That's
was
cool.
a whole list of supers, and that one was the one where, yeah, if he like instead of doing damage, he stops, he jumps up, drinks a little bit of a soda, and then you get like a quarter health bar back.
Dang.
So that was pretty sick.
I think my super was the one. It also like a music bar would come up, almost look like Rock Band or Guitar Hero or something. And you would like hit the notes, and if you hit it perfectly, then it would, you'd do like a fury slash kind of attack, and then this another circle would come in, and if you get the timing right, you get another perfect like critical hit at the end. I love that one because it just like destroyed their health bar. Like when you're fighting a boss, like it was most of the boss or health bars are broken into thirds. Like you could almost take out like a third of their health with like that one attack. I'm like, heck yeah, I like that.
Liked using the skateboard one. I don't know if you saw that one, or you ride your guitar like a skateboard.
Yeah, through
start
the
hitting them over like that.
That's awesome.
That was really good for melting them.
Yep. Oh man, this game's good, man. This game is just. The more I talk about it, the more I'm like, is this in my top right now? My personal. I know it's not in yours, in you guys's, but man, this might be in the running for me. I don't know.
I mean, definitely for this year.
For this year, for sure. Yeah.
Like this better win some awards at the Game Awards. If it doesn't,
I would be shocked if it didn't at least get soundtrack.
We're boycott. If it doesn't get nominated, we're boycotting the Game Awards this year. We stream it every year, but we won't this year.
If it doesn't at least get soundtrack or what is it called? It is soundtrack of the year, isn't it? Or music or something like that?
There is one. Yeah. The soundtrack, I think, is one. Or score.
Score? Yeah, if nothing else, it needs to get that. But it deserves a lot more than that. Trouz, did you have any, we're getting ready to wrap it on up here. Did you have any final thoughts or want to cover anything that we didn't go over initially?
I'd say the one thing I'd like to talk about a little bit is probably the robot enemy designs and how many like different variations there were. There was a lot of cool ones.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned the samurai before, I think, where he talks Japanese to you after a certain point when you fight. And there's like some bird ones that fly and that are really annoying, but
oh my god.
There was one that was like griefing you the entire time trying to go up to the tower to get Kale, and he would just grab you and throw you somewhere else. And it's like, what the? Why? So that one was annoying, but most of them I was like, yeah, this is cool. I like seeing the new, it felt like every new track was something new coming out.
Yeah.
Dude, the little blue ones that look like motorcycles that put out the shield that puts. oh my god! And they run away too when you try to hit them.
So fast.
They're so zippy. You just can't catch them. You have to like wait till they come to you.
Yeah. Oh, I like would spam the magnet like leash, like the rope or whatever. Like that was like my not only against that enemy but every enemy. Like I was like boom boom boom, attack, then rope, attack, a rope. But yeah, that was like the only way to get a hold of those guys on the motorcycle, because I just keep spamming that because they try to get away. Like, nope, get back here. Get over here.
I know they couldn't stand that. Oh, him and that hook. I can't run.
Man, towards the end with the gauntlet of like you just go through one after the other. You know what I mean? All the different boss robots. And then like you have to like time your parries with each, like da 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 da, and then like da 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 da, like these cool little rhythms you have to get down.
Those were harder than Corsica.
Yeah, they were really hard. I would have some trouble.
There were some that got like long. Yeah, it was like not just like 3 or 4. It was like, all right, here's 10 beats you got to remember.
It was like da 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 da. Like all random. It was like, God.
But you did get that one hit KO if you managed to do it, and that helped a lot.
Felt good. Felt good.
Just slice them in half.
Each and piggybacking off of that, Trouz, I agree. I love that they were all so different, but yet they were easily identifiable. So you knew like. The blue ones are most likely going to be dealing with shields. The red ones, they're going to be dealing with fire. You know, the green ones, you're going to need shields for, so that way you're able to figure it out. And then the orange is just cannon fodder, right? They're frontline soldiers, they're grunts, so you can do whatever you want to them. But and then even within those product lines, there's variations within there, right? Like there's boss level fire ones with the 2 fire swords, and then there's fire grunts that just have 1 and they're a lot faster. Different things like that. There's tanks.
Yeah, different tiers are basically right.
Mm-hmm. So I do appreciate that. And they were well designed too. They feel like they fit in with what Vandalay would make, or at least what Kale would make anyway.
Yeah.
Garrett, did you have anything you wanted to touch on that we didn't go over?
I think we pretty much talked about everything other than we got to give a shout out to Cinnamon.
Yes.
Got to give a shout out to Cinnamon. We haven't even talked about him at all this whole time, but he was also part of the team.
He was.
And he was a pivotal part of the team because at the very end, he's the only one who can hook up into that robot arm and blast that giant robot apart. So shout out to Cinnamon sacrificing his health and safety for
his whole drawing. His expressions was the best thing. I was like,
yes.
So
like, I love it because it's not like just once and done. Like through the conversation, he keeps like erasing it and doing another like mid conversation, like while you're talking. I love it. And it wasn't just, it was like all the time. It was like during cutscenes, he was doing it. During just the one-on-one chat sessions, he was doing it. Like during oh man, I love it. Like they were so consistent with that character of like constantly keeping up with that thing.
If you were falling somewhere, he would like do it real quick to make it look like he has a screaming face.
Like he's like scared. Yeah. So good. So much humor in that. Like it's just fantastic. It would be so easily missable too. Like if you weren't paying attention to it, like so good. So yeah, shout out to Cinnamon. He's fantastic.
Of course.
Yeah.
Man, I can't say enough good things about this game. We clearly cannot. So this game is on Steam and it's on Xbox and Xbox Game Pass as of today, February 23rd. Who knows where it may go? Xbox has been known to port their studios games to other consoles. I feel like this would be well at home on Switch. So
man.
You never know.
This would look so beautiful on the Switch OLED.
On OLED, dude. Oh man.
Be gorgeous.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see it make its way over there. But, we'll see when the time comes. So that'll do it for this episode. I've been racking my brain about what to do for the next one. And I think I have an idea.
Oh
boy.
I don't know if we... Yeah, let's do it. We're gonna do GTA Vice City.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Interesting.
Ooh.
Changing it up.
Dang.
So
I have only played one GTA game, GTA 5, and I did not even play the story mode. I only played multiplayer with some friends, and basically all we would do is just go to the casino and gamble. That's it. We literally played.
I remember
GTA
you telling me this.
Just to play poker or just to play black, like whatever. Like that's all I've ever done. I've never played any other ounce of the game. So or any of the other older games either. So this will be my first GTA game ever, basically.
You didn't even commit some like arson or anything.
No. Nothing.
Just poker.
They just got in their little sedan and just stopped at every traffic light and went straight down to the casino.
Just went to the casino and basically did the free spin every day. You get either free cash. Sometimes you want a car. My buddy won a car.
Hey, Bill, how you doing today?
Yeah.
That was
just role playing as a couple old men in Vegas. That's
so yeah, be on the lookout for that. That will be the end of next month when we will go over that. But that'll do it for us today. Trouz, thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us, man. And for playing Hi-Fi Rush. I had a feeling that you were going to like it, and I'm glad I was right.
Yeah, it was a great game. Pleasure being here.
where can the good people find you all over these here internets?
You can find me a couple places. You can find me on Twitch as Trouser Schnauzer, or you can find me on Spotify and YouTube as DJ Trouz. I have a full-length album that just recently released. It's on my shirt, actually. Voyager of Endless Worlds right there.
Sick.
Awesome.
So, oh, my camera froze.
That's fine. They got a better look at it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Nice.
But yeah, you can find me on Spotify, YouTube for if you just look up DJ Trouz Voyager of Endless Worlds, you'll find it easily.
Those links will be in the show description as well, so you'll click right over that.
And you'll be able to find his stuff in our upcoming episodes if you listen good.
Yeah.
Garrett, I'm sure that the people know where to find you, but go ahead. Tell them where you are.
I'm over on the main podcast. Find us over there. Same place you found this. You could probably find that. Although not on podcast. It's separate. Search for Super Gamer Boys. Or find me on Twitter and Instagram at @gmorlang if you just want to see me post the most random stuff. That's it. That's what it is, really. Like there's no general like, oh, okay, this is what the type of content you're gonna get from me. It's like whatever's on my mind that day. So there you go.
And you can find me any and everywhere at Homeboy. And that will do it for us. Another episode of Super Gamer Book Club in the can. Man, next one is going to be number 20.
Number 20.
20 months we've been doing this, dude. That's
awesome.
Crazy.
Man.
I can't wait to see where it goes.
Heck yeah. So good.
That's all for us. Until next time, take it
See
easy.
you later.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging out with us. I hope you enjoyed the episode. As a reminder, if you want to catch any of the new episodes the first Friday that they come out of every month, you can find them only on our Patreon. That's patreon.com/supergamerboys. And don't forget to check out our main episodes too. Those are pretty cool if I say so myself. All right, we're out of here. Peace.